Gentlemen, good morning and thank you for joining us. Amit, it's your first time on ET Now, so very warm welcome and thank you for joining us. I guess problem is well documented that there are data integrity issues. US FDA frankly has no problem with the manufacturing setup, but they have problems with the way Indian pharma companies have collected and reported data. So how severe is the problem? And is this beginning of the end of what could be called as the Indian generic story?
Look, if you look from the outside pharma's view, the problem is very severe. Now, the data integrity as such, why resolved? Because 10-15 years before, when Indian pharma were doing very good, at that time the US wanted generic drugs. Now we are sitting at a time where the generic hunger is over. If you ask one product, there are 20 of them who are supplying them. The data which the FDA 10 years before looked at the other way, now they are not looking at the other way. And you know, if you see the companies which are getting into the data integrity issues, whether all big Indian pharma, the reason why they are getting into this issue is they got into the rat race of first to file, para 4, which was high risk, high reward game. Now in doing so, they didn't project the data properly. And it's not that India cannot project the data properly. We only have to unlearn a lot of things that we have learned in the last 15 years. And let me tell you one thing, all of the issues that have come in recent warning letters or import alert, there's not a single issue where the quality has been condemned. The US FDA is very clear that the quality coming out of these pharmaceutical units are extremely good, they are best in class. Only thing is that, you know, what we call is justice should not be done, it should be seen as done. So we didn't present the data properly. Now the pharma companies are working on how to present the data properly, and I don't think this is going to continue on. Big Indian pharma has already mastered the game of now having proper data in place, and you'll not see a repeat of this in a big way in Indian pharma now.
So do we see this big overhang from the US FDA, which has been a bit of a pain point for pharmaceutical stocks, easing off, turning around, you think, going forward?
Yeah, if you look from the stock perspective, I tell you that companies which are into aseptic manufacturing, sterile, they will take time to come up, because as I said, other than we mastered the oral dosage form manufacturing. Oral is what you consume through your mouth. Injectable is something where we have to gear up our good facilities, we have to improve our safety practices. Asians, except Japan, we are not very good in hygiene anyway. So that's a feeling in FDA that probably the injectables are not very safe from coming from India. So people who are in cloud, because of the sterile products, they will about take one and a half more years. But oral dosage form, I don't see any problem.
Can you give me an example? Because as of now, I can actually count about 15-17 companies where the US FDA concerns have been raised.
Yes.
Which are the companies you think the US FDA concerns will get diluted first?
Lupin probably will be the first company which has worked done a lot of work on compliance. Wockhardt will take time. Aurobindo has worked on it, but again Wockhardt and Aurobindo are facing the sterile issues. Aseptic issue is something which will take time, as I told you. But in terms of companies bouncing back, Lupin has bounced back, it has got its approval back. There are API companies like Glenmark units, and there are non-listed companies which have come under cloud which are coming back. So these people will come back actually.
Amit, if I look at the recent news flow, small approvals are coming in.
Yeah.
Is the wheel reversing now? Because first US FDA welcomed Indian generic companies because they wanted to outsource cheaper drugs. The US healthcare was going up, right? Yes. Now they've realized that the innovators are suffering, which is the Pfizers and the Novartis of the world, they are suffering. So they have to protect their own turf now. US FDA, they went stringent, they raised concerns, they doubled their manpower. But the wheel has to reverse. Whether it's Democrats or Republicans, they both are gunning for lower healthcare costs. So US pharma needs Indian generic companies as much as Indian generic sector needs US market.
Yes, absolutely. And that is precisely why FDA will always continue to approve Indian companies in terms of generic supplies. Taking from your point, India has not even come out with one single NCE, because FDA will not approve an NCE from India, because We know, I mean, India is good in technology.
Cadila got one, Lipangalon.
No, but that's not for the US. That's not for the supplies in US market.
That's anti-diabetic
Yeah.
C.
So, at some point of time, it will be killed as a molecule.
Okay.
Generic is something US knows that India has mastered the technology. And to make it a point, I can tell you that I've been consulting companies in China, Russia, US and India. In formulations, we are about 15 years ahead of China.
Okay.
So there is absolutely no way US will move towards China for sourcing for generic drugs. India has to be a celebrated story and continue to be a celebrated story for generic. Only thing is, for steroids, we have to build up a good plant, put in good aseptic practices, and solid oral, I don't think anybody can beat India in terms of generic medicines.
Okay. So let's keep the stock market angle aside.
Correct.
In the stock market, there are opinions and there are technical factors
Right.
which will take the stock price up and down.
Right.
Purely from an business and adaptability point of view,
Correct.
which are the top 3 pharma companies which have adapted very well to the US pharma market?
See, if you ask me, Lupin currently I rate as the best company in the country. The second company, I don't know whether it's a listed company in terms of aseptic, where a lot of discussions and noise is going on, is Gland Pharma. If you meet the owner of Gland Pharma, he's personally taking care of good practices, good sanitary practices, and that's why that's why they're getting value. I always knew that they will get value out of it. And Sun Pharma. But Sun Pharma again, they have to improve their aseptic practices. So Lupin and Sun effectively probably is going to lead the race. And if you look at companies like Sharon Biomedicine and all that, we are not doing very good. Eventually they will have a merger and acquisition with this big pharma. I can tell you that. I can get that feeling.
But Amit, you got me thinking about Cipla then. If you're saying the
Cipla
generics is
Cipla
off
is a
as
behemoth.
business.
Cipla is like, Cipla is like a...
But it's the largest generic player in the country,
Yeah.
and if you're saying that the US is off the generics model.
Correct.
And I know they're largely
Right.
supplying to India, but
Right.
they're also looking at the export market.
Right.
But if that's off the table, then that kind of contains their expansion.
No, but if you see Cipla, they have been a very early mover in the rest of the world market. That is a very profitable market compared to US. US will give you name in terms of stock, as you are saying, stock prices and all that. Cipla has always been a very low key player in US. They knew that this cloud sometime or the other will come, because multinationals will come after you and all. But Cipla has been a very fast mover and very high reach in ROW market. If you see Russia, if you see
Rest of the world.
The semi-regulated market presence is very strong here, and I guess Cipla has just reached US now. If you ask me, that
correct.
Cipla, after they made those 2 acquisitions, they got the new guy on the board. They are a late entrant in the US market, but I guess sometimes being a late entrant, it hurts you initially, but it saves you lately.
But at the same time, they are into problem now. The moment they entered the US, they got into problem. Their indoor plant is in the cloud.
We've seen a spate of mid-cap or the non-large companies getting US FDA approvals. Indoco got it for 2 of its Goa plants. I was just leading that. Claris got a US FDA EIR for the Gujarat facility. A couple of other companies also have gotten that. So Surjit, quick 30-second answer. Which amongst the non-nifty companies are the ones, do you think, which will have gotten out or get out of this whole mess first and therefore will benefit a lot?
Yeah, Alembic I'll go by. Alembic is doing good in research and development, but one company which will come quickly out of the FDA and in mid-cap space probably is Micro Labs. They will do good because they have a good R&D pipeline, and I don't see any other mid-pharma company doing good.
What about the Indocos and the Claris Life Sciences?
No, as I told you that with Sun Pharma and Lupin going vastly ahead in terms of compliance, very soon you will see
Smaller
this.
guys cannot afford it. I mean, that's the whole point,
It's-
that R&D expenditure is going to go up. So I want a view on Natco.
Correct.
They have a sexy pipeline. Let me put it
Absolutely.
this way.
Yeah.
I mean, from Copaxone to other drugs which they are
Absolutely.
developing.
Yeah.
What is the future for Natco?
The out-licensing of the molecules is the game for Natco.
Yeah.
They are going to out-license a lot of molecules to, whether it's a big pharma or a Mylans of the world. A lot of talks going on. And again, as in terms of GMP, as long as the sterile plant remains under cloud, they will not be able to supply. But I think they're planning to out-license the molecule for manufacturing in US.
The fact that they've got a partner like Mylan, do you think that will make life easy for Natco? Mylan will take care of all the regulatory problems, all the approvals.
At some time, partly yes or no, because if you see Strides' story, the moment Mylan entered Strides, Strides got into cloud with US FDA. Mylan is being seen as a competitor by Big Pharma, Pfizer and MCure is another story which is not listed, I tell you. It has come into cloud because of the Mylan this thing. So it helps you both ways, and
Double-edged sword.
Double-edged sword. Mylan will probably help you only to get a trigger faster in terms of re-inspection. But FDA is a very practical body. I mean, it's probably the easiest inspection to pass and very reasonable people. If you do all things right, US FDA is the place where every Indian farmer should go actually.
Yeah, as somebody was saying earlier on, it's really about the communication. I think 6 months back when
Yes.
these issues started, it was really about the communication with the new FDA officials in India that Indian pharma companies were lacking, and that was a bit of a bottleneck. On APIs also you're bullish, so you said Dr. Reddy's is fine?
Yeah, Dr. Reddy's API is bullish. Zydus is very bullish on API.
Do you own a pharma stock personally?
I do have Sun Pharma.
Sun Pharma.
Because I have worked in, if you ask me, I have worked for companies like Ranbaxy.
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
Saying put you in a spot. Surprise question, a trick question.
I worked for Sun Pharma, Ranbaxy, Vocard, and I was in the regulatory affairs, so I know these companies. As you told that the ball will, the things will settle or not, it will definitely settle. It's a culture issue. Lupin, Sun and Zydus have realized this. Other people are not realizing it.
So if you have to, let's say, make a portfolio, not a stock portfolio, but in terms of a business portfolio, 3 companies which you think they will survive the storm and they will become stronger and stronger, because every time a reset button has been pressed,
correct,
the good players, the strong players become stronger, and big players, they become giant players.
Correct.
So 2020,
yes,
which are the 3 companies which will survive and they will be significantly larger than what
I'll be very bullish on Sun, Zydus and Divi's APIs.
Divi's for that answer.
Yeah.
I was looking for that answer. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Find us on Facebook at facebook.com/etnow and don't forget to click the like button. You can also follow us on Twitter at etnowlive. To stay updated with all our programming, hit the subscribe button on our YouTube channel by logging on to youtube.com/user/etnow.